This is Jesus, James, and Mark, and I'm Mark.
And I'm James.
Welcome to episode 52.
52.
52.
Yes, sir.
We are just two ordinary men, if this is your first time here, that are exploring the Bible, the Word of God, and what it means to be a Christian. And we're grateful to have you join us. We are available on many podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on iHeart. You can find us on Amazon Audible. You can also just go to Facebook, find Jesus, James, and Mark on Facebook, or on YouTube, Jesus, James, and Mark. But like, subscribe,
comment,
click on that bell, and yes, comment, share the experience. Send us an email as well at jesusjamesmark@gmail.com. There's no and in it, just jesusjamesmark@gmail.com.
And we like to remind everybody that we kind of go by 1 Corinthians 2:2. We know nothing but Christ and Him crucified. That's where we start.
Yes. And then that's where it all goes back to. Whenever you get lost in it, because it's easy, you start going down the rabbit holes, and then you're like, wait. Go back to Christ crucified.
Yes.
I think that's always...
That's a great foundation to start on.
Right.
And end on.
Absolutely. And I wanted to say, first off, we're excited to be back, and we're exploring Genesis right now, the first book of the Bible, which is one of our favorites in the Bible. And
a little bit past halfway right now. We're
in the building of the beginning stages of the history of the nation of Israel, and
we're
essentially
going to see that start today. Matter of fact,
absolutely. So this is, I was, thinking about it. It's interesting because Genesis goes from and I think the reason why I enjoy it is because there's certainly lessons in there, but it's definitely history. To me, it's a lot more of a historical record of the people of the Jewish nation, and inside this history, you see these little, as we were talking about last week, these little Jesus moments of Jesus being revealed, Messiah being revealed, which is another,
and the will of God being fulfilled through the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. And so again, it's the reason why we went back. If you're new to that, we did the gospel first, and I think one of the things that you and I both are big proponents of is sharing the word, and getting out, and not just being one of those that I feel like are, one of our things is about Western Christianity, which, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, maybe internationally, all the way around, and it's not everybody. So when I'm saying this, just know I'm not persecuting everybody, so to speak, or I'm not really persecuting. I'm just saying I think somewhere we get it wrong in the idea that we go and we get saved and then we just sit and wait. And I think that is not what we're supposed to be doing. Right. I think, as I said, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but there's this moment where every Christian, and we're going to do Revelation next, and we'll probably talk about everybody's going to have to stand and do an account of your life, even if you're saved, and I think a lot of people go, oh, this feels like a really bad moment. It's just sort of, what I imagine this is, and I don't know how much you've sort of brainstormed in this. This feels like your one-on-one moment with God, like your one, and Him sort of giving you this was your life.
Yeah.
These were the opportunities. This is where you missed glorifying me. And I know that I'm going to probably have to sit through some pretty painful moments of realizing that I put myself before Him so many times.
And in my mind, I see us all there, the whole population, and we step forward one at a time. So we are one-on-one with God, but we are out in our shame at that moment, being told,
So you think we all get to see it? Do you think it's like or
that's
do you
the way
think
I see it in my head.
Okay.
Is that once we're before the white throne, we are
Man.
pulled out from the group, and you are, and it says you have to answer for every idle word that ever exited your mouth. It's going to be so shameful. But the great part of the cross is that as soon as that happens, you step behind Christ and you are completely clean. It is.
Yes.
It's going to be one of probably the worst moments of the end, and then all of a sudden it's going to be the best thing that could ever happen to you.
And again, I don't know if everybody's going to be present. Like like you're saying, I think a lot of people that's probably one of the fears is like I'm going to go up there and everybody's going to get to see my personal movie of mistakes because and I don't know, but I'll say this: I feel like what's going to happen is exactly what you're talking about. I think our human body and human experience feels the shame, and I'm not saying we won't feel shame in that moment, but I think we'll feel overwhelmingly joyed and really have our true understanding of what Jesus dying on the cross for our sins meant.
Oh, yeah.
It will be sort of this was what was washed away of you.
Yeah.
And so, as I said,
and that's when you'll truly understand the power of grace.
Yes.
Because mercy is getting kind of a lesser sentence than what you deserve. Grace is not getting punished at all.
Right.
For the things you did wrong.
This is, and I bring this up because I say the reason why we've been doing this is because, look, we could have done this all our life, and we'd still have to sit through this and probably have to painfully look at moments where we made it about ourselves and didn't make it about Him, where we're in sin, we're in shame, and all those things. But I think once you get to a certain point, and I don't know if it's with age or maturity, and this is the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we all, as I've said, first off, the minute you did make this decision, just remember there is a peace that comes with it, but I think it's something you have to do every day. Because it's not a pull a lever and everything goes awesome. If anything, now the enemy's coming after you to try to get you to step away from this whole thing. But what you see over time is you get better, spiritually mature. I think is a good way to kind of describe this. It's a journey. It's sort of like I could go back to my early, like even the last 5 or 6 years of my life have been way more Jesus driven than certainly the previous 40, whatever. There were little pockets of good moments there.
Definitely peaks and valleys all through life of where you get closer, you fall away, get closer, fall away.
But I say even in those 5 years or whatever, and I'll just take that small window. I think my maturity is way better now than it was even 5 years ago. And I would expect 5 years from now, I'll look back on 5 years ago me and say, whew, I'm glad I've matured a little bit more in this. And I bring it up because Jacob's story is that. It's watching someone who we just watched him get this blessing.
Yes.
And it was funny that once he sees this Jacob's ladder moment, this dream that he has, he wakes up. He has this, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This fear of God comes in him. And then he says, I'll tell you what, God, you've done all these things. And if you stay true to this word, you'll be my God. And I'll give you a tenth thing. I mean, and sort of this weird deal thing of just, which again, God was going to be with him either way. It was just very interesting about watching him go from, because again, remember, doesn't even understand omnipresence. He creates Bethel.
And he thinks that's the gateway to heaven.
The gateway to heaven. This is where God presides, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to see him spiritually mature as it goes on. And I'm saying this as a precursor to this is going to be rough the next next couple, because you're like, this does not seem like a spiritually mature person. And we'll bring up as the story unfolds.
And we have to remember that Jacob's history is the one that grabs the heel, right? So he's kind of known as somebody that will do something a little underhanded to get what he wants.
Yes.
And to me, that's just him not being mature enough to realize that God is going to have his will. He doesn't have to do those things. And I'm not saying that any of his struggles were a result or payback for those things. I'm just saying that he has to go through trials to get to that maturity level. And a big part of maturity to me is being able to recognize and stop making excuses for your sinful acts.
Yes.
Once you can recognize your own sin, you can have a whole lot better attitude about trying to seek forgiveness for it and repentance.
So we're on Genesis, and I believe we're 29?
29.
29. All right, so we're reading from the New King James Version. And I'm going to try to stop, read a little, and then stop. And then that way we don't have to, like I said, we'll start there. Because, again, there's different parts of the story. Just picking up to where we left off again, remember Jacob has left. He got been given the blessing from his father. He had the Jacob's ladder moment, and he's now heading to try to meet with some of his family and find a wife. So here we go, 29:1. So Jacob went on his journey, and he came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked and saw a well in the field, and behold, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. A large stone was on the well's mouth. Now all the flocks would be gathered there, and they would roll the stone from the well's mouth, water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the well's mouth. And Jacob said to them, "My brethren, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." Then he said to them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" And they said, "We know him." So he said to them, "Is he well?" And they said, "He is well. And look, his daughter Rachel is coming with sheep." Then he said, "Look, it is still high day. It is not time for the cattle to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go and feed them." But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together and they have rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep." Now while he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And it came to pass that when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative, and that he was Rebekah's son. So she ran and told her father. I'm going to finish this. Then it came to pass when Laban heard the report about Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. So he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and flesh." And he stayed with him for a month. All right. So let's stop there for a minute. And then, okay. So what's really comical as I'm reading this is, so they come up on this well, and I don't know what you have pictured in your head. If you want to Google these ancient wells, it was like a hole in the ground basically with a rock sitting over it. Typically would take 2 men to roll these stones, or more, because again they put these big stones over there. Then they would roll it, feed the sheep, etc. So he sees these men and asked them about Laban. Of course, they're like, "Oh yes, you're in the right place." And then here comes Rachel, and I think you can tell from the reaction that Jacob is smitten. Yes. He sees Rachel, and he jumps, runs to her, and moves the rock himself. So part of this is funny to me. Like I see him just going like,
he's trying to show out.
He's showing. He's like, "Hey, check this out!" And then he goes and feeds all of the sheep.
Before that, I think it's humorous that he tells those other shepherds, he's like, "Look, it ain't time to water. Y'all just go feed your flocks." See, he's trying to get some one-on-one time with this girl getting ready to come.
Right. And then, to further the great first impression, he kisses her
And I'm assuming that's probably some kind of welcoming kiss for family. Like, I don't think he leaned her over like the old movies.
I don't, I didn't do the deep dive into the Hebrew because again, all those kisses mean different things.
Right.
But that is an interesting thing. Now, but then he wept. So look, I've done some dumb. When you meet a girl, we've all right. It's like let me just. But man, if it ends in you kissing and crying, I don't know. Is that a good look for Jacob?
To me, it's like he was smitten by the idea that here is this woman that he's obviously attracted to, and God has led him to this place. It's like a fulfillment of the journey, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, I just think he's overcome with emotion because everything is working out like God would have planned it. That's kind of what I get from the weeping, that he was just overfilled with joy that everything was working out.
And he meets Laban, and he stays there for months.
Now, we got to remind these people about Laban.
Remember?
Yeah, Laban's not.
We read about Laban, and by the way, the whole reason why Jacob's here is because his mother, Rebecca, makes this statement of, if he marries
a Canaanite,
I might as well not even live. I don't know what is the purpose of me living. She sends him on his way, and with the blessing. It's also... She's also trying to protect him because she knows that Esau wants to kill him.
And it doesn't say here, but it would be super interesting if this was the same well that the servant showed up for to get.
That would be interesting. Yeah,
it doesn't mention it, but I just like that would be great if that was part of the context. And I also think that Laban realizes, because you remember how well he made out when the servant came.
Oh yeah.
For Rebecca, he's like, oh, they're back. I have to go meet this guy. I've got to bring him into my house, because he is a little self-serving.
Yes. And remember, so yes, Laban's the guy when they send the servant, as you were talking about. And so, I definitely think he was thinking, time for me to profit.
And he's going to fall right back into that same thought here shortly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Let's pick up from Genesis 29:15.
15, yep.
Then Laban said to Jacob, because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what should your wages be? Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were delicate. There's other translations that say her eyes were weak. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But Rachel was beautiful of form and appearance. And so Jacob loved Rachel. So he said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to you than I should give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days to him because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. Now it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter, Leah. I think Star Wars is to blame here.
Yeah.
Leah his daughter, and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. And Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a maid. So it came to pass in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? And Laban said, it must not be done so in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this one also for the service which you will serve with me still another 7 years. Then Jacob did so, fulfilled her week. So he gave him his daughter Rachel as wife also, and Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a maid. Then Jacob also went into Rachel and also loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban still another 7 years. Okay.
So this is Laban being Laban.
And it's Jacob meeting his match. Because Jacob's the big deceiver, and it's like, now
he's being deceived.
Guess what, buddy? Two can play that game. I do want to say there's the one part in here that was really interesting that I wanted to go back to, and that was, let me go back to Rachel was beautiful form. Jacob loved Rachel. It is better that I
You
think
said you had a thing
I
about
did.
when he says that Rachel's eyes were.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to get back to the. Okay, so I didn't understand that.
Leah's
eyes were weak. Leah's eyes were delicate. So I thought, what does that mean? Okay, so I looked. So the one rabbit hole I dug down was this. And let me just tell you, there is no information. And so most of the rabbit holes I went down was that this was a saying in that time for a girl that didn't look good. So, if
it's
she
like
wasn't a good,
she's got a good personality.
Right. Yeah. Right. Probably a lot worse than that, but yeah, something along those lines. It was not a good thing to say, and it's here in the Bible. But apparently,
bless her heart.
There you go. That's a good one. That is a good one. So, I think the other part of this is, the 7 years is kind of odd. Now, one, I think Laban wanted to try to get as much from Jacob as he could. Obviously, he was probably gaining wealth from this servitude.
He mentions that later on. That
yes.
I think that was in the last time when the servant. No, it is this time. Anyway, so Jacob is the one that set the terms, right? He said, "I'll serve you for 7 years for Rachel," and then Laban used that same stick, that same measuring stick after he deceived him. And then if you want Rachel, you can have her after a week, but you're staying for 7 more years.
Right.
So, I mean, Laban did turn it around on him. Laban was way better at this game than Jacob was.
Yeah. And and again, I don't know what goes on. I don't know what, again, the ceremony, however it was given into them. And so, listen, we want to keep this open to all age groups. Okay. So go into her means exactly what it sounds like. And yeah.
And we've mentioned it before. Yeah. There is no wedding ceremony, right? There is no.
The consummation
seals the union, yeah. And so when she came in, and of course the bride was always veiled until the wedding night.
Right.
Even though he had already seen her, but on that day she was probably veiled, came in, it was dark. They did what married people do, and he wakes up in the morning and goes like, "You're not Rachel."
They fight and can't figure out where to eat. That's what married people do. I'm just joking. What are we going to eat? All right.
They couldn't figure out how to decorate the tent. They didn't know what was going on. Nobody had the same idea.
Let's go to 29:31, I believe. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren. So Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, because he was good at sandwich making. That's a bad joke.
Yeah.
For she said, "The Lord has surely looked on my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me." The Reuben actually is a good thing. It's actually a fruitful thing. So sorry for bashing your name. All the Reubens of the world. It's a properly named sandwich, though. It's good. So she conceived again and bore a son and said, "Because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also." And she called his name Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son and said, "Now this time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi." Oh, the Levites.
That's an important name.
Yes, and she conceived again and bore a son and said, "Now I will praise the Lord." Therefore she called his name Judah. That's an important name. Mm-hmm. So that is good. Then she stopped bearing. So when we end this chapter, so he's got the 2 wives, and one of them is unloved, and one of them, there's a favorite here. And listen, again, you got to get past the dynamics of the fact that everybody's like, "Oh, gross, 2 wives." Okay, listen, again, we've gone through this. This was that culture at that time.
Yep. And we do need to state that polygamy is not ordained by God anywhere in the Bible. Those.
It's not ordained by Jesus, James, and Mark either.
Yeah, their culture just did that, and God uses that for His will. Again, He will use bad things to make sure His will comes true.
Yes.
And these 12 children, these 12 sons, are part of that big plan.
Yeah.
And I did think it was interesting that Reuben does mean see a son. It's almost like, hey, I've given you a son. Do you love me now?
Yes.
And then Simeon actually means herd, like a group, And then Levi is joined. Like, now that I've given you 3, we can join. We can be a family, like a unit. And of course, Judah means praise. But she's given all of their names are a direct relation to how she feels God has blessed her to get love from Jacob.
Right. Who still loves Rachel way more than he does Leah.
Yes, he does.
And she's going about it the wrong way. Now, at the same time, we're getting ready to, we're going to go into 30 right now.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, because at the same time that Leah's trying her best to spit out babies to make Jacob happy, we know how women in this time were being treated if they were barren.
Yes.
It was you were cursed by God.
You were
reproached.
You were paid for a sin that you had committed. There was something going on that God didn't allow you to bear children.
And so let's pick up from Genesis 30. Now, when Rachel's, verse 1, now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel. And he said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" So she said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, that I may also have children by her." Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as a wife, and Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore, I shall call his name Dan." And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "A troop comes." So she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed." So she called his name Asher. Now Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest. Okay, hold on. Let's stop right there, because I don't want to get too far ahead without. First off, let me go all the way back to Rachel being really upset and going to her husband and being upset about being barren. And she cries out to him, "Give me a child or else I might die." Look, she's definitely desperate. His reaction's terrible. And I'm going to actually go back to his parents. His mom was barren and went to her husband, Isaac, and said, "I'm barren, da 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 da." And what he did was pray to God. We can actually go back and read. He went to God and asked, and guess what God did?
And she went to God.
Yes. And guess what happened? She got pregnant. Instead, he got angry, flew off at the handle at her, and it's like, "Wait a minute, are we supposed to be in the place of God?"
And this decision kind of goes back to Abraham and Sarah trying to take it into their own hands and having Ishmael.
And there's that thing where, again, I did read a little bit about there was some sort of way they did it then if you had the multiple wives.
Yeah, that's
they
not
gave
conjecture.
A servant.
That's like actually how it would happen. At the birth, this maid was sitting on her knees giving birth, which made made them feel like it was part of the whole unit. This is my child now because this is the way we have given birth to this child.
So and these two girls, Leah and Rachel, are just competing.
Yes.
Baby trying to make this.
I mean, Rachel's sitting there seeing there's 4 sons.
Right.
That this girl has had for the man that doesn't love her.
And what I'm seeing is Jacob, there's not a whole lot of narrative on Jacob going, hey, wait, you know.
Yeah, and
he doesn't seem to be any control.
Yeah, he is not putting up a big fight.
It's not.
But the names that just came out are all kind of described in the text, because Dan means to judge, Naphtali means my wrestle or struggle, Gad is fortune or troop, and Asher is happy or blessed. So, and it kind of explains that, you know, since I've been blessed, I will name him Asher. So the text actually is telling you what the name means. All
right, now let's pick up on it's Genesis 30, 14, verse 14. Yeah. Now Reuben went into the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, is it a small matter that you would have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? So we got a little fight going on here, little brouhaha. And Rachel said, therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. Then Jacob came out of the field in the evening. Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he laid with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a 5th son. Leah said, God has given me my wages because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a 6th son. And Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me. Every kid's going to this is the one. This is the one. Because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. Afterwards, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph and said, the Lord should add to me another son. So we'll stop there. I mean, and just so there you go. These two girls.
The competition between these two women it's over the top. And the fact that they will use Jacob as almost a token to get what they want, it baffles me that that's the kind of dynamic that was going on in this household. So if you can't see any kind of dysfunctionality going on here, you need to read it several times, because it is very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And these mandrakes apparently were a fruit that would increase. They were known as an aphrodisiac, and they would increase fertility. So that's why she wanted the mandrake so bad that she's willing to barter with her sister for their husband. Like, you can have him for tonight if you give me these mandrakes, because she wanted to get pregnant that bad. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you, it's a muddled mess. But again, God uses all of this for his will.
God uses all of this for, and by the way, that guy Joseph, you're going to hear about him later.
Remember that name. I will say one more thing about those names. Issachar, there's a reward. Zebulun, dwelling. Joseph, God will increase. As she said in the last, God has given me another son. So
this is Genesis 30:25. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, please stay, if I have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. Then he said, name me your wages, and I will give it. So Jacob said to him, you know how I have served you, how your livestock has been with me. For what you had before I came was little, and it has increased to a great amount. The Lord has blessed you since my coming, and now when shall I also provide for my own house? So he said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flocks. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, the brown ones amongst the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and these shall be my wages. So my righteousness will answer for me in time to come. When the subject of my wages comes before you, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the lambs will be considered stolen if it is with me. And Laban said, Oh, that is that it were according to your word. So he removed that day the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the brown ones amongst the lambs, and gave them into the hands of his sons. Then he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Now Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar and the almond and chestnut trees, peeled with white strips in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And the rods which he had peeled, he set before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink, so that they should conceive when they came to drink, so that the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. Then Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the streaked and all the brown in the flock of Laban. Then he put his own flocks by themselves and did not put them with Laban's flock. And it came to pass, whenever the stronger livestock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the livestock in the gutters, that they may conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the men became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. All right. So the end of this is Jacob having to do a little bit more work just to get out of some sort of servitude, which I guess, again, I think he's trying to be honorable. And probably what you got here, too, is you're married to these girls.
Right.
This is their family.
Mm-hmm.
This is their community. And again, remember, he's away. He's still probably has Esau in the back of his mind, like, well, where else am I going to go? But at some point, he's thinking, and look, it's not implied in here, but at some point, I think he's thinking, look, I'm the man here. I'm doing a lot of work and making this guy really rich. I should be doing this for myself. I should go make a name go do my own thing.
Well, he's probably he's ready to go home also, right? He's ready to be out from underneath Laban.
Yes.
And Laban, of course, is trying to keep him there because of the volume of increase that
the golden goose.
Yeah, he's the golden goose.
Right.
And he even says, which I thought was interesting, where he says, by experience, I know I have gotten better since you've been here. My notes say that word could also be translated as divination. Like he was going to his soothsayers or his readers or whatever, and they were saying the reason you're doing so well is because of this guy. You need to keep him around.
Yes,
it's obvious that he's pagan, right? He's not a follower of a god, but he can see the increase he's getting from this godly man being there.
Yeah, and again, and then it's the end of it is a lot of confusion. Again, if you want to dig rods and the flocks and the speckled and the spotted, is basically his little way of saying, look, I'll do this and I'll leave you in good shape.
Yep.
And I'm also going to leave in good shape, and everybody's going to be happy, and we're all going to be good.
And so the speckled and spotted were all considered less than pure, right?
Yes.
And so he says, I'll take the speckled and spotted, which were less likely to be born. But he also, as soon as they made that deal, Laban took all the speckled and spotted out of the herd and gave it to his son. So Jacob basically starts with 0.
Oh, yeah.
So he has to build his herd. And those rods, whatever those rods are, he's putting in the water. When it says, when he put the rods in there, it would make them conceive. A better translation would be to make hot or go in heat. It would make the livestock more likely to mate. So that's why he put the rods in the water, is because it spruced them up.
Yeah.
And they would mate more. So we can put the rods in there in front of the speckled and spotted. Of course, he got more speckled and spotted. It was, I'm sure, he knew a lot about shepherding, right? So he knew all the tricks and all that kind of stuff. And he wouldn't put it in front of the weaker ones because he wanted a strong herd.
Right.
And he wouldn't put it in front of the strong ones for Laban's flock either, so that they would diminish.
Right.
And then if when Laban, like 3 days between them, right? He said he got a 3-day journey between the two. So when Laban comes back, he can only take the ones that are pure brown, pure white. All the rest of them belong to Jacob and his family.
And despite all of this, and again, you're seeing, like I said, these guys trying to better themselves and their situation. I'm looking at the time. I don't know that we can get to. I don't know we can go into 31 because. But this is what's going to happen is I don't think I can read all of 31, but I do know we can tease this. Anytime you can tell from the get go that anytime you have two people and one person wants to do this and the other person wants to do something else, it's eventually going to bubble up.
Yep.
And so go back. I'll just say this: the fact is, Jacob wants to leave. Laban doesn't want Jacob to leave. And all this is doing is building tension the entire time.
And that's probably some of Jacob's fear, too, when he was trying to find a deal that would work for both him and Laban, because if they kill him, they keep everything, right?
Yes.
So he's probably fearful a little bit that if he really bucks the system, but now he's grown to a point now to where he feels like, I'm going to give this a shot.
So if you had a weird relationship with your uncle, hey, so did Jacob.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say these two, like I said, and so what's interesting. I was talking to Michelle about this. Is that this is one of those parts of the Bible where we've read 2 chapters, and God's in it because it's talking about God opening up wombs but I think again, as far as for people who go to the Bible to pull out some sort of like just the scripture warriors who can pull, and especially again, I'm really don't like out of context scripture where you just say this sounds really good. It's and maybe one day we'll do one of those where we can pull out 3 or 4 scriptures that people use, but without the context. And when you're just using it to say this makes me feel good,
right?
It's like it's I think that if you got it in the whole context, then and it makes you feel good, yes. But if you're just trying to pull something out of here that's magical, I don't know that there's a lot in there other than, again, I did want to say probably the sweetest part of this whole thing, kindest part of this whole thing, is that right in the beginning when he first meets Rachel, and he has to wait 7 years for this marriage that turns out to be Leah.
Right.
Okay. He says those 7 years go by so fast because he was so in love. That's a kind of a sweet part of that story, when it's like, man, things were just, it felt like that was 7 years, man, that flew by.
And the thing that I take away from these two is the fact that God is with him the whole time, even with all the turmoil, all the dysfunctionality, all of the problems, everything that happens, we still see the 12 tribes of Israel being born through this whole process, which just really sets the stage for what's about to happen. And it's the building of the nation of Israel. That's what is happening right here.
Look, that Joseph guy that we're talking, he's the guy with the code and the Egypt, from the pit to the palace, all the little Joseph things that we say.
That's I love that story. I love Joseph's
story is great.
Fantastic.
And it's big. It's a grand story. But when you fast forward to Exodus. So remember, there's 400 years of slavery, and again, we're fast forwarding through this. But all of that, so Moses and Aaron and everybody's saying again, the son. Who's the Lion of Judah? That's Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Who is, the Levitical laws? Well, that comes from Levi.
Yeah.
There are all of these, all of these people that we're talking about are the founding fathers, if you will, of the 12 tribes, and all of it was through dysfunction of a guy who was married to two women who were competing for this guy's affection. He really loved one. He ended up having to take both of them in order to get the one. And then they had baby wars, essentially. But through that, a nation was going to be built from that. And
we do need to remember that all of these women are probably still through the line of Abraham, right? Because this is the family of Rebecca, right?
Yes.
So these are still, everything is still moving forward so that the line of Christ comes through Abraham.
Yeah, and it's as I said, it's going to be again not a lot of stories other than again towards the end all you hear about Jacob in these 14 years is making babies, right, and all this stuff. But obviously, what you see in the end of it is exactly what you saw. He in those 14 years became pretty good at being a very valuable person, knowing how to herd and how to make the herd multiply and to do all these sorts of things. And again, as I said, it's not a lot written about what Jacob was doing at this time aside from the baby making.
Right. And we don't know how long it took, right? We don't know after the 14 years he spent for the two women, how long did it take him to build this herd?
Right.
That he's eventually going to try to take back home with him.
Right. So that's where we are at this point. But I think again, the interesting story, as I said, or I say the interesting lessons learned, or again how favoritism is a bad thing to have when you have a family dynamic.
Yeah.
And again, I know that's like not a family dynamic we're all living in. Where I can't favor one wife over the other, Chop.
Well,
I would suggest you favor the wife you're married to.
Yeah.
But thank God that as I said that these aren't problems. I mean, look, I'm just telling you. I think what's probably the most valuable lesson in all of this is exactly what we keep saying, is that God is going to get what he wants, and his purpose is going to be where it goes back to Romans 8:28. All things work for the good of those according to his purpose. I mean, and so it was not all of it was doing the right thing. Let's be honest. Giving your maidservant as a wife to your husband is probably not God's wishes for you.
Yeah.
But through that, God being sovereign said, this is how we're going to get these 12 and start this thing. And so I think that's ultimately, as we said, we all go through stuff. And I think the spiritual maturity, and I've said this to you a few years ago, many years ago or whatever. I went through some of the most difficult times in my life, and the biggest spiritual maturity you can have is when you can say, I would not trade that trial, that hardship, that storm. I wouldn't trade that for anything, because that's where that's where my intimate relationship.
You became completely aware of your place in God's world.
Yeah, and as I said, so I think that's where, when you can get to that point, and look, I'm guilty of it right now. And Chop's been sharing this thing. I think he shared this with me twice in the last week or whatever.
I sent you that 2 times.
It may be 2 different videos, but it's the same clip. Yeah. It's our guy from Atlanta.
Michael Anthony Phillips.
And so he's got this great thing, and he's talking about being in the storm, and he's like, you got to just keep rowing and keep rowing.
And the thing that I found most profound about that message was that he said those guys that were rowing against those waves and the wind and everything, not once did it mention they thought about turning back.
Yeah, this is the disciples on the boat.
Yeah.
Again, this is Jesus walking on the water.
Yep.
But you're right. There's no, guys, let's turn around. Let's go back.
Yeah, and they said they were out there for hours. They're going against this storm, which is what we do during life, right? We're going to encounter those storms. But if you stay focused on God and Christ, you keep going in that direction because he's going to come walk on that water and pull you out of there.
I think that's and as I said, I think that's the thing that I do this often, and I think you do too. And if you're listening, I bet you do this too. And we had breakfast with our friend Mark, and he's really bad about this. So, like, if you pray for patience around him, he will run out of the prayer circle because he's scared to death to like have his mother-in-law be sent to live with him for 30 days, so he can exercise his patience. But I'm bad about that too. I'll be in the middle of a prayer and I'll word something, and I'm like, oh, I gotta be careful. I don't want to invite a storm into my life. But what's interesting is, without the storms, I mean, I'm not. You're not going to get through. I mean, I think it's. And then look, I've heard this said before. You're either right in the middle of, just coming out of, or about to go into a storm in your life of some sort of tribulation that's about to. Like, and we have
to remember, we're not promised any easy path.
No.
We just stay focused on the goal, and we will get through the hard times, and there will be good times.
And in fact, if you choose this path, I will guarantee you it will be even harder, because
we live in a broken world.
And yes, and the path is narrow. So if you think it's hard to walk through life without it, the minute you start walking with it, it gets even narrower, and it's a lot harder to walk when you don't have that much space. Like I said, so it's.
Just remember, you've got the best co-pilot of anything out there, and you will get through it.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think we probably should cut this right here. So let's before I get the music going, I am, again, we're getting it. I'm with you. The Joseph part of this is really, but the next part of this with Jacob is really good too.
It is.
So as I said, I'm really looking forward to this, and I can't believe how close we are getting here to the end of. I know it feels like we still got 20 or 19 chapters. We did 30.
We did 30. We did 30. Yeah.
So, but that being said, I mean, it's going to fly by, and there's a lot of times we can get 2 of those.
Yeah, and we are going to jump into Revelations right after that. So we're going to go from the beginning to the end,
or the beginning to the new beginning.
Exactly. I like that better.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to discuss the first book of the Bible in Genesis, and the story of Jacob and the starting of the nation of Israel. So thank you so much for that. We're praying for peace. We're praying for mercy in all things. We thank you so much in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Episode 53 next. Have a good one.
Goodbye.